Do you know, like here in Asia, it's a little bit popular to put Botox in your obliques.
Oh my God, I never heard of
Serious?
that. No.
Okay, yeah.
Does that
So
work? So,
Wow.
so Boston, tell me what happened in the Indie Pro. I don't know what's going on. What are the updates?
Well, the Indy Pro was weird, very weird with the way they judged it. I had the guy who won and the second place guy where they should have been, and then everything else was scattered. But that Blessing guy really shit the bed, man. He
Yeah.
He
really,
was, but he was very fit, right? But he was small.
yeah. His legs were downsized. They didn't have the cuts they should have had. He was either flat or something happened, man. Because I mean, his legs were gone.
He looked nervous on
Did you, did
stage,
you,
and
did you watch
I think he psyched himself out backstage.
Didn't it look like his legs just like lost like everything? Like there was like no cuts in him either. It was weird.
Yeah, I think he went backstage and he saw Morgan Ash, how big and full and round and hard and shredded he was, and then he psyched himself. He's like, oh, and then they spill, and I've seen it happen so many times backstage. Yeah, so that's what he looked like. It is a self-sabotage backstage.
Morgan is huge. By the way, Morgan is such a weird French name. I called my wife in. I was like, this guy's French. And his name is Morgan. Wait. By the way, I gotta comment on something. I gotta comment on something. So Boston, check this out. So I hear that Morgan Asti is this giant, right? So then I see an interview, Ron Harris interview on MD. So I call my wife and I'm like, look, there's a French giant here. So she sits down and she's like, what's his name? And I'm like, Morgan. She's like, that's not. It sounds like an Irish name. I'm like, yeah, that's true. While I'm looking, I noticed that that guy from Ron Harris is almost the same height as Morgan Asti. 2 inches apart. So I'm like, wait a minute. I know Ron Harris is 5'8". So either this guy is not 6'6", or Ron Harris is wearing.
He's Morgan Ass is 6'3", 300 on stage.
But he was so close in height to Ron Harris that Ron Harris is either wearing something, bro, which they do sometimes. I caught Dave doing that before.
I think Ron Harris is wearing some platforms because I've seen pictures with Morgan Ass and Joe Stetics, a friend of mine who also lives in Thailand. Yeah. And you know, there's a clear discrepancy. You know, it's like half a foot difference because Joe's about my height, 5'9".
Yeah. So Morgan was in extremely good condition, huh? Did you guys? Yeah. Did you feel like he deserved a higher placing?
Yeah. So he had the best side shot in the show. He had the best back double bicep in the show. I think they fucked him hard giving him 6, man. They had this really short, like Hispanic guy named Camilo, I think, placing 5th in front of him. That was bad. I don't understand that at all.
What did you think of Dorian?
Oh, dude, he's such a bloated monster. Like his gut, he couldn't control his midsection. He was sweating like a pig on stage.
He was moving erratically, but that guy's a lot of muscle, huh?
A lot of muscle, but structurally, and his legs are not there where they kind of flatten out.
That's true.
For instance, he has amazing from the side and shit. He looks sick.
Who else was there in the top 3? Oh, I wanted to say about Justin. Justin also has like he has an amazing body. I have no critique against him. I just wanted to comment that his abs, like when he poses, sometimes you don't see any abs, which is interesting. Like sometimes bodybuilders, when their abs start splitting, a lot of growth hormone stuff, you start to not see any abs. What is that? And how
I think they also don't train.
Abs?
They also don't train it so much anymore.
Why?
I think that's very common. Just to keep it small, yeah, because some guys get horrible obliques, you know, if they start training them heavy. So what I do, and many of my clients do, is just high reps. Right, but they're not on these dosages that the pros are on, or I'm suspecting that they're on. So you know, maybe their abs are not popping that much. I think
it's a bad idea, and it backfires when a lot of guys don't train their abs. I know a few in general where they don't even have the ab development, and it's almost like you would rather have a little bit of a wider waist to actually have some development in your midsection. Some of these guys have no abs. It's really bizarre.
Exactly.
Boston, do you know, like here in Asia, it's a little bit popular to put Botox in your obliques.
Oh my God, I never heard of that. No.
Okay, yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Fascinating.
Shrinks them very well, and then you
think
Botox in your obliques. So that's what I'm suspecting sometimes, where they don't have any stomach control anymore because they put a little bit of Botox on the side. So just to shrink and I even thought about it because I have horrible obliques, you know, years of heavy rowing. Mm-hmm. So you put a little bit in obliques and it would shrink it in if you do the waist trainer 24/7, right? But you also lose a little bit of stomach control because you're always relaxing your stomach against the waist trainer. And then on stage, you don't have this good control that you get. My wife had the same thing when she wore a waist trainer, but she didn't do Botox in the obliques. But I've heard several guys that put, Botox in their jaw also because they do the chicken broccoli diet. And then, boiled chicken, right? And you get this horrible jaw pump when you're on a fuck ton of androgens. So they would put Botox in the jaw and Botox in the obliques. And it would just...
Do you think that's what Rolly did? Because that weird thing when his waist just shrank so much. He's the only guy that's ever done that.
His waist did come down a lot. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Now, Boston, what do you think of the New York Pro that's upcoming? That's the big one, I think.
I'm excited for that show, man. I think Justin will beat Nick. I think Nick will probably be second, and then I think Hassan will be third, and then I think Blessing will probably be out of the top 5.
Yeah,
I think so.
Hassan is.
I think he might be second if he nails it this time because he never really nailed it.
He has to be peeled.
Hassan
he looks so pumped up, man. He looks so pumped up.
His side shots. It's like, can you have more muscle? I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. That Egyptian genetics, huh? There's so many of them. There was that Egyptian who was competing, Muhammad something, in the last show from Saudi Arabia. He was okay too.
Right, and then the other guy that used to compete, Mohammed, probably called Mohammed also, used to train in the 90s, and then he used to train with Milos. What was his name?
Mohammed Makawi?
No, another one. Another Mohammed.
I'll tell you an interesting fact. Did you know that in Bangladesh, all men are called Muhammad? Almost all men. 99% of them.
Yeah, it's a very common name.
And then there's
Ali.
But literally, no. There's no Ali. They're all called Muhammad, and then they have like a second name, and you call the guy by his second name. But his first name is Muhammad, so it's like MD, and they call it MD, and then his actual name.
A lot of doctors there.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing from a client of mine who was a doctoral student who was saying they started using MDs.
It's very, very common names in the world,
That's true. Okay, so do you think Nick Walker is gonna do that well? Can he beat the Egyptian guy? Can he beat Justin?
Yeah, I don't think he can beat Justin. I really don't. I think structurally Justin's so ahead of him.
Yeah, the muscle maturity is quite far ahead. But again, Nick has only done one pro show and he got 4th. So I would expect him to jump over, a couple spots and end up in the 2nd place. But again, if Hassan Mohammed is in shape, then he'll probably be second.
Mustafa. Isn't he Hassan Mostafa?
Hassan Mustafa?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm
We're both sorry, Hassan. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You think he's going to be peeled?
Hassan?
They just posted some recent photos of him posing with Flex Wheeler. He doesn't look like he's going to be in contest shape.
He looks very full, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his legs didn't separate or anything.
Yeah.
He would benefit from a couple of weeks off from growth hormone. Just to let everything suck in a little bit, and maybe some albumin IV the night before.
Wouldn't you want to give somebody like that, like get him off test completely like they used to back in the day for the whole week? Because that guy's holding water. Like somebody like him.
A guy like that's that big, I think they would benefit from doing that. I agree 100% from a guy that's that big. But if you don't have that crazy muscle and fullness, then I wouldn't risk pulling the test out.
No, because this guy's problem is he's got so much muscle, but it's just the definition, right? So him or
just
Robbie
needs to shrink everything in a little bit. Yeah, get the extracellular fluid out and then
pull the test, maybe pull the growth hormone, and then have like him run like a really high dose of Primo, Mastron, and Winstrol.
Right. Yeah, get that estrogen down and get the water retention from the GH off, and then it's a 2-week process.
I mean, shit. Even if he lost, 5 pounds of tissue, I mean, he would still be insane.
Right.
Incredible. It's really incredible.